So my name is Gita Chud, and a very, very warm welcome to all of you who are joining us for what we know is going to be a very inspiring session, what inspires me at 90, with Gloria Levi. So I just wanted to offer a few words of background about our JSA Empowerment Series. From the time I joined JSA, the Empowerment Series was on the go, and we made a decision that for our 4 or 5 empowerment sessions over the year, we would always want to invite a Jewish organization or agency to join us as a co-partner. So over the last number of years, the Parrott Center has served as a fall partner, and I work as the chair of the Parrott's Board and Center as well. So we have a wonderful co-sponsorship of JSA and of the Parrott Center in this regard, serving as partners. Just before I introduce Fran, who will then introduce Gloria, I just wanted to remind everybody that we will have a Q&A time after Gloria's presentation, and we ask you please to enter your comments or questions in the chat, after which we will, Fran, or pardon me, read those out so everybody can hear and go to Gloria. At the end of the session, we also have a poll where we please ask you to offer your feedback on regarding the session, and before you do any signing off. So please remember the chat for any questions or comments, and the poll for your response to, what you've learned and enjoyed about today. And so I please welcome our dear friend, Fran Goldberg, to offer her introduction, reading too many things, to dear Gloria Levi. Fran, over to you.
Thanks, Gita.
Mute.
Okay. In February of this year, the world was invited to celebrate Gloria's special birthday via a Zoom party. More than 100 plus screens could be seen in the gallery view at any one time, representing different countries, time zones, etc. Participants were given an opportunity to write something about Gloria or for Gloria, and then post it in the Kudo board. It's clear everybody loves Gloria. The flyer for this empowerment talk highlights many of her accomplishments, but Gloria is more than that. She's a feminist, activist, COVID-19 survivor, ex-Coquitlam City Councilor, spiritual channel, model of kindness and generosity. She can find joy in the darkest of moments. When I think of her, I see a calm, collected woman who is always smiling, confidence personified. When I spoke to Gloria about her talk, I asked her why she said yes to the invitation. Her answer was something to the effect of, "I'm not sure, but it's a good opening line. Let me think about it." So I'd like to share with you several events in her life that stand out to me. To begin with, she's the only person I know of who lived in hotels between the ages of 9 and 17. Gloria explained that her family was poor. It was the tail end of the Depression, and they needed to figure out a way to provide shelter for the family as well as earn an income. The solution was to rent an empty summer hotel in the Catskills. So she, her sister, 2 brothers, parents, and other extended family all moved in. This was initially a sad time for Gloria, as her maternal grandmother did not join them, but she made the most of it and eventually enjoyed her time being in community. The exercise turned out very well under her mother's steady hand. Gloria said, and I quote, "They made more than just a living." Gloria is the only person I know of who was in the Middle East within a year or two of Israel's independence. This past Yom Kippur, she shared many wonderful recollections from that period. It was there that she met her husband, Norman, also an activist. In 2004, Gloria almost single-handedly established a Habitat for Humanity project in Burnaby. Enough money was raised to build 27 townhomes. I know that she was on site, lending her physical strength to the outcome. Unfortunately, large-scale projects generate a lot of excess building material that usually ends up in the landfill. Gloria decided that the surplus should be donated free of charge to an organization who could then sell it to the public. There was just one little problem. No such operation existed yet. Not to be deterred, Gloria asked BCIT students to help her write a business plan. The plan forecast a profit at the end of the third year. Not so, the Habitat for Humanity Restore project turned a profit much sooner. There were 3 such successful outlets within a 20-kilometer radius of the city of Vancouver, an early example of the 3 R's. The accomplishment that Gloria is most proud of is her family. She and Norman raised 5 children. The 5 begat 11 grandchildren, and those grandchildren have sired 8 great-grandchildren. In their eyes, Ima, Safta, or Gigi can do no wrong. She continues the legacy of strong women being the backbone of her family. Before I turn the screen over to our featured speaker, I want to remind you about what Gita just said. Please enter your questions or comments into the chat box, and we'll try to answer them at the end of the session. And before you log off, please complete the poll that's online. And now, Gloria, it's your turn to enlighten us with what inspires you at 90.
Well, when I got to the title, What Inspires Me at 90, I thought, well, it's the sunset over the water on Gabriola. It's beautiful arbutus trees with their curving trunks and orange trunks. It's an eagle catching, and then I'll just walk off because that's what inspires me. Goodbye. But I want to say a lot more than that. I think to learn what inspires me, one has to do a journey of self-discovery. I think a person's life is very important, and we have to revere the significant story of a life. So there are inner voices and outer voices. The outer voices are voices of friends, of teachers, of family, public figures, other kinds of images that influence us and help shape us. But the inner voices come from an inner core of your essential self. And as you go around in that journey of self-knowledge and the ability to see life as it is, we find common threads. Perhaps you were the noble warrior, maybe fighting every cause, being the activist, whatever. Perhaps you were the peacemaker. You made nice, you hated conflict. You always tried to maintain peace with all your relationships. Perhaps you were a rescuer If you saw someone that was needy, you were right there to help. So these are some of the common threads that as you pull your life together, you begin to see. But the important thing, I think, is self-knowledge, knowledge of who you are. And that is the ability to see life as it really is, and a search for kind of authenticity. So there's a famous story of Reb Zusia, who was sick and he knew he was dying and was very concerned. And his followers said, "Why are you so worried, Reb Zusia? I mean, you tried so hard to emulate Moshe and to emulate Abraham. You know, you were a pious man. What makes you so frightened?" And he said, "Because I'll go to heaven and God will say, 'Never mind Moshe and Abraham. Why weren't you more like Zusia, your own self?'" So that degree of self-acceptance, warts and all the things that might be wrong, but that kind of acceptance to say to yourself, "I'm good enough. Maybe not that good, but I'm good enough." Human beings were not meant to be perfect. Moses stuttered. Jacob had a limp. We're imperfect human beings, and to accept our immortality. For a long time, I wondered, I knew what the stage of youth was. I knew the stage of adolescence and the struggles that you have then, and young adulthood, more mature adulthood. But when we came to old age, I didn't know what we were supposed to be doing. And so I asked a friend of mine who is an anthropologist who'd worked for well over 30 years with indigenous peoples, how did they see elderhood? And I'd like to read you a little bit of the dialogue that I had with her. I say, "For a long time, I've puzzled the role of old people. If I were to describe the expectations of our society regarding old people, I would say it's to retire, to play, to be happy, join our geriatric playpen. But elders seem to have such an honored place in indigenous societies. Does it actually work? If so, tell me, how do they do it, my friend?" Native elders are the keepers of tradition, guardians of their culture. They're considered the wise people. Their teachers and elders are central to any genuine Aboriginal learning. They are role models and the gatekeepers of their wisdom, knowledge, and history. And I reply, what happened in Western society? We lost touch with the land, with Mother Nature, with the incredible sense of awe as we experience earth, water, and sky, and all the elements. Social structures changed rapidly. Extended families morphed into nuclear families. Supports of community became fragmented. We call the rapidity of social change future shock. Now I call on my grandchild to teach me how to send an email or pay a bill. My friend, there's a deep spirituality among indigenous elders that influences every aspect of their lives. By living their lives according to deeply ingrained principles, values, and teachings, they try to show, often by example. Not all old people acquire the title of elder. However, all old people must be honored and respected just by virtue of their age. And I say, we also invoke similar positions of honor. In Leviticus, we say, stand up before a silver head and honor the face of one matured in wisdom. An old person does not have to earn respect. Respect must be given. As Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote, just as the grandeur of the sun or an oak tree is not reduced to the functions it fulfills, so a human being must be regarded as significant and valuable in him or herself. And my friend says, yes, with indigenous peoples, honor is automatically shown to all old people, but elders are in a separate category. They're recognized for their stability, their humor, their deep connection with Mother Earth. They do not promote themselves. It's the community that identifies them as having the gifts of knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. And then I answer wisdom. Wisdom is impossible to define. I can only begin to approximate its depth. Wisdom is something like to become aware of how beguiling and seductive self-righteous indignation can be, to search between the black and white amid the grays for the real story, for truth or truths, to search for the compassionate heart knowledge and understanding deeply embedded in those rational cerebral understandings, to wholeheartedly embrace uncertainty, even though it is fearsome, sometimes to doubt. When we're able to see life in its wholeness, one comes to an understanding of wisdom. To grow old is to become aware of the temporary state of all things. A long life with understanding of self and others brings a ripeness to life that does not depend on reputation, beauty, accomplishment, wealth, power, or influence. It's time to turn off the chatter of daily life and discover a vital inner life force. The cultivation of that inner life is the specific task of the elder. So there I was, age 89, with a heart condition, and 3 years after my second open heart surgery, I suddenly realized that I was having increasing difficulty with my breathing. I automatically presumed that my heart was acting up. However, my granddaughter, the nurse, insisted that it was COVID-19. It couldn't be, I replied. I've been so careful. Finally, after 2 weeks of increased breathing difficulties, I recognized that my breathing difficulties had become very severe. I relented and agreed to go to the hospital. I entered Vancouver General Hospital April 1st, 2020. As I slipped off my clothing and put on the hospital gown, I realized I was shedding my personality and entering that institutionalized, depersonalized state of, quote, patient. In spite of my computer pad, iPad, and cell phone, my computer, iPad, and cell phone, I was alone. Healthcare personnel only entered the room when they had a specific function to perform. They put on their protective gear, did their job, and then took off the protective gear and left. My 3 adult children FaceTimed with me every day, but struggling for every breath, growing weaker, complications set in, I felt profoundly alone. I was constipated and tried every suggestion to improve the situation to no avail. I forced myself to eat food that was atrocious. Walking with assistance 3 times a day from bed to bathroom was exhausting. Day was turning into night and night into day, and each day seemed maddeningly long. One nurse suggested I might have sleep apnea. Oh my God, I worried about all the new diagnostic labels the healthcare system might throw on me. I needed oxygen, and I was constantly looking at the oxygenation markers to see how low they were. I couldn't go home until I could breathe on my own without oxygen. Try as I would, I could not take a properly deep breath. Breath. What is this phenomena of breath? Linshom is to breathe. Neshima is soul. The two are connected. God breathed into Adam's nostrils, and the creature became a living being. Breath meant life. The last breath a person takes before death is an exhalation, to expire, not an inhalation. I could not inhale without help from oxygen nasal prongs. I was trying so hard. I was so tired of trying. I said to myself, maybe I could just let go. Just let the exhalation come and it would be over. I closed my eyes to see what that would feel like. Peaceful, but dark. I couldn't be in darkness. I hungered for the blue of the sky, for the color of the inlet waters from my window, the green of the trees, the dark reds of rooftops, for the promise of the rainbow. The portion Shabbat is going to be Noach. The wonder of this world, the preciousness and beauty of this planet. And I knew I wanted to live, to love, to engage. By day 14, I encountered a physio who worked patiently teaching me how to control my breathing, to take air to the very bottom of my lungs as best I could. I could change the oxygenation markers on my own. On day 16, I left Vancouver General and returned home. I had overcome the coronavirus. So what inspires me at age 90? Well, first of all, this is our 11th plague. And it was sent to us to teach us things, and it has taught us things. It's revealed a lot. For one thing, it's shown a huge discrepancy between the haves and have-nots. Low wage earners, the clerks in the grocery stores, the one who restock the shelves, the workers in nursing homes who look after our elders, the workers in daycare who look after our children, the hospital workers, the cleaners, the nurses, everybody, drivers who bring the food from the farm to the store, and the food production factories like that work with the chickens and beef and all of that get very low wages. And they're the ones who are keeping us going. They're the ones who are running our society, was supporting the society. And on the other hand, you have millionaires. Oh, we've always had millionaires, but now we have billionaires. Yeah, we have and now we have trillionaires. What's wrong with our society? And then we've discovered something else that was revealed during COVID: systemic racism. People of color, what's developed is the movement of Black Lives Matter. Indigenous people have discovered unmarked graves of little children. What's wrong with government services when we're dealing with people of color? Asians, I remember, this is before my time, but in the 10s and 1920s, seeing headlines that said yellow peril in our city. Latinos, but they're also non-visible minorities like Jews, and the rise of anti-Semitism, anti-Muslim racism. All of this heightened awareness shows there's a need for a change. We need a reset. Where does my inspiration come? A lot of it, surprising to many of you, come from the Torah. In the Parsha Bahar, they claim we need a reset. Every 50 years, we'll declare Shnat Yovel, a Jubilee year. And in that Jubilee year, to reset the inequalities, land will be returned to former owners, debts will be dissolved, There'll be a freeing of Hebrew slaves. Even the land needs to be renewed and will lie fallow. And the theme of that Jubilee year will be proclaim liberty throughout the land, which is written on the Liberty Bell that's in Philadelphia. That was from the American Revolution. And what else is inspiring in the Torah? So we just finished reading about creation, and almost each day of creation, God says, Ki Tov, it's good. And there we are with climate change. The wonder and beauty of our planet, our interconnectedness, interdependent, interrelated. Echad, we're one with everything. We come from stardust. The Big Bang, which started our planet, came from stardust and are intermingling with each other. So know who you are. Know also you are good enough. Experience life as a precious gift and feel that interconnectedness of everything. Kohelet, Ecclesiastes says, joy is to live in harmony with nature, recognize you're an animal with other animals, and live harmoniously with each other. In chapter 4:19, he says, for the fate of man and the fate of beasts is the same. As one dies, so does the other. For there is one spirit in both, and man's distinction over the beast is nothing. For everything is vanity, just a puff of air. I am an integral part of the cosmos. Wisdom, what is wisdom? Old age can be a time of truth, a time to turn off that chatter of daily life and discover a vital inner life, which comes from our essential self. To achieve wisdom, sometimes you have to travel through a journey towards self-knowledge, to accept life as it is and not simply as we wish it to be, to see life in its wholeness. Wisdom is an awareness of that kind of wholeness. The sheer joy of being alive fills me with wonder and delight. Sunsets, yes, sunsets over water on Gabriola, twisting orange arbutus trees, my son's overflowing vegetable garden, gratuitous small kindnesses of strangers, love of friends, of my Or Shalom community, of my extraordinary loving family. As the musician Louis Armstrong said, it's a wonderful world. Jacob had a dream of a ladder extending from the earth to the sky, angels ascending and descending the ladder. And he woke up and said, God was in this place, and I did not know it. But I look at my life and the world, and I say, God is in this world, and I do not know it. Do know it. Oh my gosh. Let me give that sentence again. God is in this world, and I do know it. Thank you.
Do we see Shani anywhere?
Oh, Shani.
Sorry. Okay, she's there. Yes.
I think we're going to do the questions first, if there are any. Are there questions in the chat?
There's one comment in the chat.
Okay. Just a second. Okay, so maybe we'll leave that for later. But I just want to thank Gloria for a wonderful talk and all the mentions of self-discovery and the community that gives respect and recognizes the wisdom that exudes from Gloria. She didn't give in to the COVID. She was much too interested in life and being and nature and all the inspirations that she takes from the Torah. And she was able to communicate that to us with her wonderful words. And also, I think it's important that she mentioned about how you have to be self-accepting with everything and not always be looking for others, but you have to accept yourself. And that wisdom is an awareness of the wholeness of life. And I want to thank her very much for all her wisdom that she was able to impart to us. And I thank you so much. And I would like to ask everybody to remember to complete the poll that will appear on the screen. And I don't know if we need to read out the chat, or should we just leave that for?
I think it would be helpful, Shani, if we can read out anything in the chat that's either comment or question.
Well, it's just to further to what I said.
Right.
That beautiful lady, inspired and inspiring life. What a role model. Glory to Gloria. And Carl and Delta said, yes, indeed, to what Lena said. And somebody said, tell us what inspired you to write a novel. Okay, so Gloria can answer that.
Well, I have to, the question is what inspired me to write a novel. What?
Get rid of this.
Oh, it's okay. I got it.
Okay.
I don't actually see that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neither.
Okay. Well, I've written first I wrote a trade book, which was called Dealing with Memory Changes as You Grow Old. And then I wrote, my favorite Hasidic Rabbi is Simcha Bunim, and I did a translation from the Hebrew to the English about his life. Then I did two memoirs. One was A Time in Israel, and the other was a broader one. And I was looking for a new challenge, I think. I have to say it was very hard for me to master a novel. I have rewritten it at least 4 times. I kept writing a memoir. I knew I had to write from my life experience, but how was I going to make it? And one of the people who was a reader for me, a very sophisticated woman, and she said, if the first page doesn't grab me, I never look at it. So I started looking at all fiction books, just the first page. How did they do it? I thought, how did they do it? And it took me quite a long time, but I think I've managed that now, and I'm very excited about it. And I've fallen absolutely. And then what started it was my son saying, how did your parents ever get into the hotel business? And I realized I had never written about that part of my life. So it's a long answer. Are there other questions?
What's the name of the book?
What else would it be? The Hotel Keeper's Daughter.
And where's it available?
It's not, I haven't gotten it published yet.
Oh.
I'm still in the process. We're now at a polishing process, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Yes, Gita.
Speaking about your polishing process, Liz and I are sitting here, and right from the get-go of your presentation, I wrote a little note to say, Gloria should definitely write a short story or a book based on what you've shared with us today, what inspired me in 90.
I'm not sure.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Make a note of that, please, dear Gloria.
All right.
Short story or a book.